So anyway, so should we have our panel come?
Yeah.
All right. So we have Monty Munford. I don't know if Sabine is.
I'm sure he's ready.
He's ready. Monty. And Teare. And welcome.
Hey, dear.
How are you?
Hi, Keith.
Bonjour, Loïc.
Hi, Keith. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Yeah,
Bonjour.
after all, we could
The English and the French, we're very good friends.
Yeah, they're set apart. Yeah, that gentleman got that.
So let's start with Monty.
Hello.
Monty, you are a tech writer.
Yes.
Forbes, The Economist.
Forbes Weekly, Economist regularly, BBC Monthly, contributes to the Sherry sites, Mashable, TechCrunch when I need. 25% of my time, 75% of the time the money. I have a small consultancy that helps companies raise money and exit.
You help, so is that startups that you help?
Yeah, well, it depends. I mean, usually it's friends, you know, like people I know. You know, I have a very nice network and I'm a connector, as I'm sure you know.
Right, and so you're based in London?
Yes, well, south of London near Brighton.
Well, it doesn't matter much because...
Apart from the train strikes.
All right, cool. And Keith, you guys introduced yourself already. So Keith, you're based in, you're British.
I'm British, but I've lived in Palo Alto for 20 years now.
And I lived in San Francisco for 10 years.
There you go. I'm older than you, so I get to have more than you.
You know, age is in your mind. Look at Paul and I and our hair. You have hair, you should be happy.
I have, well, not if I bend down.
So you co-founded TechCrunch?
I co-founded, well, there's a story there, but it's too long, but I'm credited with co-founding TechCrunch. Actually, Michael Arrington and me co-founded something called Archimedes Labs, which I run today, and TechCrunch was our first project. So that's the truth. So I was a big shareholder of TechCrunch. Mike won't like me telling you this, but for some period of time I was the majority shareholder of TechCrunch.
Were you?
But, you know, that would have been really mean, because it was his thing, so I let him have it all back.
Okay.
I'm a nice guy.
And so what do you do now?
Now, I still run Archimedes Labs. We have 20 portfolio companies, very hands-on, very different to, let's say, Y Combinator.
So like, you're like a Y Combinator, like?
Well, we're more like an early-stage VC because we care about the companies a lot. It isn't about the number of companies, it's about what they do and who they are. So it's much more like a boutique curation model than a numbers game. And I'm about to do something very big in the UK, which I can't talk about yet until a couple of weeks from now. But okay. I'll be going back to London a lot and doing a lot in the UK. If you're a London-based startup or you want to be in Manchester, Birmingham, Glasgow, and you're a startup, I'll be able to be very helpful next year.
Okay. And can we take questions or no? Do we have a microphone in the room? No.
I don't think I can probably manage that.
No. Okay.
Go on.
It looks like no.
I can talk.
Yeah, text someone. Keith, we had a debate about Teare. So why don't we start with this? So this conversation is about the future, and Keith really wants to talk about Twitter. I told him, like, this is really not the future. But if you really want to talk about it, I think Twitter is dead. I don't care. Really? I'm not paid by Twitter. I'm not a shareholder. Honestly, if I deleted my account, which is cool, I have Loïc on Twitter. It's really cool. It wouldn't make much difference. I don't use it. When people direct message me, I tell them, can you use Facebook instead? Because I'm not checking it so much. And I loved Twitter. Like for 10 years, I've been in love with this thing. And now I think it's really not so important anymore. I give you an example on Leaders, which is nothing, but we have 3 logins: Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We got rid of Twitter. It was 3% of the logins.
Wow. Yeah.
So, gone.
Well, so the context for this is that there was a big rumor that Twitter was going to be acquired by Google or Salesforce.com, weirdly enough. And there was 2 or 3 other companies in the list of possible acquirers. And I wrote an article on TechCrunch called Twitter, the Case for Independence. And then in brackets, I said, unless Google acquires it. that article has a point of view in it, which is that Twitter has been destroyed largely by its board of directors, actually. Twitter is not a company that has been run by its management pretty much ever. And that's because the management didn't always see eye to eye and there was no single leader. Unlike Facebook, where Mark Zuckerberg clearly is the decision maker and Sheryl is his aide. Twitter, there was competing personalities with slightly different points of view. So the board, when it came into being,
you can have so many cooks in the kitchen. Huh?
You could only have so many cooks, so the board became the cook. You know, the board was made up of people, very, very clever, good people like Peter Fenton from Benchmark, Fred Wilson from Union Square Ventures. You know, if you don't know these names, go and Google them. They're incredibly thoughtful, big thinking, as well as being VCs. They're good people. But they were running a company and...
They're good people, but they screwed it up entirely.
But they screwed it up because any board, I've been on many boards of directors, if you are running the company's already screwed. Because companies are run by founders and managers who are paid to run the company. If the board feels like it has to step in, then what is the manager? It's just a puppet.
But there is like a lot of companies that get completely screwed up because the VCs take over too much, right?
VCs do that when they perceive that there's a problem. And if they believe the fix is for them to run it, most VCs would never do that. But if they believe that that is the fix. So what happened is, what I said in the article is, the biggest possible version of Twitter, I'm sure even you would agree, the biggest possible version of Twitter going back 5 years or 10 years was a global messaging bus that made anybody capable of broadcasting to everybody and then talking to each other, is a huge contribution to humanity.
Isn't that
massive contribution?
TCP/IP, no? That's TCP/IP.
Well, TCP/IP is the foundation. This is an application leveraging TCP/IP to bring us all together.
It's only 140 characters.
It doesn't matter. It was very effective at that time. When you could be a developer and you could build on top of it, and the tweets were distributed.
Talk to me about it.
Well,
I had a company that got destroyed by Twitter because they decided to unplug all the developers.
Exactly.
Yes.
So what happened, and this is actually we end up agreeing. What happened is the biggest possible version of Twitter was turned into the smallest possible version of Twitter, which was a portal, a destination website, a media company.
Oh, we agree. Sure.
And this was a huge mistake. So
Agreed.
I believe the board drove that. I happen to know one of the board members strongly believed that was the right course. And the management was fired and replaced by new management, Dick Costello, to execute that plan. And it was a plan to build another Yahoo, when Twitter is way more potentially powerful than Yahoo. So I believe in Twitter in quotes, but not in Twitter, the company 2016. It needs to change.
Well, soon you might be able to buy it for not much because, as you said, in this process, no one wanted to acquire it. It's incredible. Like Google said, no, we're not acquiring. Salesforce said, no, we're not acquiring. And what was it?
Microsoft.
Microsoft said, no, thanks.
Disney's back, though. Disney's back in the conversation.
Really?
Yes.
But let's talk about Google saying no. Dumbest decision ever. Larry and Sergey, please don't be dumb. Why? Google is dying. Google is dying.
Okay, so this panel is getting interesting. So Twitter is dying now. Google is...
Why is Google dying? Because none of us do web searches as much as we used to. We do mobile, and on mobile we do less searches than we did on the desktop. And by the way, every time we do a search on mobile and an ad comes up, they only get 20% of the money they used to get on the desktop.
Correct. Yeah.
So they are forced to do unnatural things to get ads in front of us on mobile just to maintain their revenue. And why have they got the Alphabet company? It's to try to find a new business model, because the old one is definitely not going to survive. What has Twitter got? Mobile streams that we all are glued to. A perfect place to put ads. Google, wake up. You should be owning this thing.
Monty, how do you see the social
I agree with Keith, Keith, what he said. So my personal experience with Twitter, I used to be a sub-editor in Fleet Street. I think the last newspaper in Fleet Street closed down. I have ink here, not blood, you know what I mean? So I was a sub-editor for IT magazines. So Twitter for me, as a slight show-off as well, you know, to be able to form things in 140 characters as a sub-editor was awesome. You know, I knew how to get the words in the right place and all of that stuff. Blah, 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 blah. And I was in India at the time, and I was doing a couple of Bollywood movies, and I was hashtagging it Monty Goes to Bollywood, and I fell in love with Twitter, you know, completely. Came home, etc., 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 blah, 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 blah. And I went to a conference in Dublin, and I was hating Facebook at the time. I thought Facebook was dying. I didn't like its profit. And I was on stage with a guy called Eamon Carey. He's now heading MD in textiles in New York. And we had a pretty forceful argument about Facebook and Twitter. And I kind of won the argument at the end and said, what would you rather lose, Facebook or Twitter? And he said, I'd rather you lose Facebook. After that, I went to something at University College of London because I'd written something about Facebook suicide. And we won the motion to destroy Facebook. I was completely and utterly wrong, right? I kind of gave in to Facebook, right? It's more engagement, it's an echo platform, which I don't like, you know. And the fact with Twitter was amazing for me as a kind of sharer of stuff, you know. I could put 20% up about what I'd written, you know, who I'd written for, thanking the person that commissioned me, all of that type of stuff. But would share stuff that I thought was awesome and all that stuff. I used to like DMs. I was just with my butcher over there saying he hates direct messages, etc., etc., etc. But like you with your 3%, right? I noticed something about 2 years ago that if I said, I'm writing a story for TechCrunch about chat networks, anyone like to comment? Basically, I'm desperate, I'm on deadline, I just need a quote. I would be completely and utterly overwhelmed by it, you know? But now, if I do that, I hardly get any, you know, no one comes back to me at all. It's like you're all PRs, you're following a journalist, do you know what I mean? So I'm with you, I agree about Google. I think it's perfect, you know, whether they're trying to destroy it or not. But I love Twitter, right? But there again, it's really difficult. I write for all these publications. I go to all these conferences. I'm verified and everything. But I have 11,000 followers. I mean, either I'm doing something wrong, or the 11,000 are so awesome that I have a great relationship with them. So, you know, I gave in to Facebook, I think.
Just to tell you a story on Twitter, then we should switch the topic, but there's an app called Whale that just launched, and I like it because it's a video question. It's Snapchat meets Quora, just to make it simple to understand. And they launch, and they only have a Twitter login. And in my team, I have, so Kevin is his name, a video producer. He's 23 or 24. And I say, oh, you should try this because it's video, try it. And he's like, I can't log in. I don't have a Twitter account. Wow. And I said, well, get a Twitter account. It's like, no, I won't get a Twitter account. This is for you guys.
So there's the very problem. Twitter is not really for logging in. Tweets are to be seen, not necessarily published. I'm a publisher of tweets, but that's probably 1 in 100 people are publishers. Every TV channel, every radio station in the whole world is talking about tweets seen. Look what this guy just said. Look what that guy just said. Sports personalities, superstars, or just ordinary people. Look what they just said. So Twitter is a one-to-many platform. And they stupidly made the decision to try to turn it into a place you should log in. And they told Wall Street, measure us by how many people are logged in. What a stupid measure. For a company that's about broadcasting, to measure by how many people are logged in. It's the wrong measure. They should measure themselves by how many people see tweets. Then it would be 4 or 5 billion people.
You know, I want to add something to that because I think that there's still, again, I'm an optimist. I think that there's a magic to Twitter that could be reignited if we sort of accepted what it is. I've written for years. I've explored Twitter from a more philosophical angle. I think the magic of Twitter is that it's a human seismograph. You don't have to be a publisher. It is most magical when you all share that one thing that's happening right now and it becomes this collective force, this collective influence. And the reason I called it a human seismograph is because you could always see, no matter where in the world it was, what was happening, what was consuming popular culture, what was consuming an event, or what was consuming a locality. I think when we understand that, we can start to bring it back to life, and we can reignite also its developer system. I think what Mark Zuckerberg has done better than most tech companies have done is that he has always insisted on choosing his investors wisely and his role with those investors. And he's quite famously said that he will always prioritize user experience over shareholder value, because if you get user experience right, you get shareholder value. I think it's a lesson for any entrepreneur is well, number one, what is your vision, and make sure that that vision is something that people will love and is profitable, but also you have to protect that magic, that thing that you had at the very beginning, and sometimes shareholder value takes precedence. Is exactly what's killing Twitter.
He's excellent. So go ahead.
We should move on from Twitter.
Yeah, no, but I want to go to there. I want just, you guys have also something that most people don't when they look at these tools. You have, and sorry to use the term, a celebrity status bias. Because if you have built in, I don't know, 100,000 followers, your experience is so totally different from someone who's signed up 7 years ago and has 150. So the experience is absolutely different, and this is where I wanted to go, because I've seen that if you guys are not interested in Twitter anymore and you have celebrity status, Twitter is actually dead.
No, but I give you
let's move to Facebook for 2 seconds, because you moved to Facebook. Most of your stuff is there now. I mean, you have everywhere. You're on Instagram stories, you're on Snapchat.
I go wherever people are.
But
I'm on Snapchat.
How was your experience? Because I remember you switched to a page, because you just said one too many. I wanted to see, because that's also something that...
Okay, so first off, this is all entirely a lie. It's a lie. Like, it's a lie. I will not quote names, but whenever you see someone with 1 million likes on Facebook, it's a lie. It's just like...
Just
I have
to
a
be
name
clear,
that comes
just to be
up, but I
clear,
will not.
Loic, it's a lie.
It's terrible. Like, followers and likes are lies. They can be acquired. I can tell you, you remember there is the price of a hamburger per country? We all saw that,
economics,
right? Where you rank the countries by the price of a McDonald's. So you could rank the countries by the price of a like. I did the experiment myself, because I'm partnering with Facebook in many things, and one of the things they gave me is experiment with ads. So I did that, and I tried to buy ads for my page just to see. And if you say worldwide, you get a price for the like. If you try to buy a like in San Francisco, it's like $10 a like. If you buy a like and you say anywhere in the world, you can go to 10 cents a like. So 1 million like you can get for $10,000 if you want to. All you will have is certain countries that I will not quote, likes which are very cheap, and people like a lot apparently there. And so those people that you see with 1 million likes, and you're impressed, don't be impressed. It's just like, it's terrible. It's the same with Twitter followers. Look at someone who has 1 million followers and what he tweets and how many retweets and favorites. There's generally very few happening. And it's the same with likes. So we should all stop lying at one point. It's like, I'm like so upset about this.
So everybody should watch a show called Black Mirror. The new episode is all about a world of virtual reality, which maybe we're going to talk about, where everyone has everyone has contact lenses that you can see everybody's like score above their head. And it's a world in which everybody has a score. But if you're under 4.2, nobody will talk to you. It's a scary world.
That's called Uber, right? You're being ejected of the system if you're less
no,
than...
but I think that's kind of exactly what it is.
It's like cloud.
You know what I mean? And we discussed last night about China, that this is reality. You know, people I think it's quite a scary thing, you know. But I think Black Mirror, you wait till you see the 3rd episode, man. Oh.
Well, on that point, though, you know, it's one thing to talk about this subject as grown adult men sitting here on a couch. It's another thing to be a 13-year-old girl somewhere in the world who this is their life. And kids, I study kids because I think you can't know the future if you don't know what
Can
kids
you
are doing.
define a kid?
So let's say 17 and under. So the Generation Z, the Centennial. Do you know that they also buy likes and they buy followers on Instagram because it has become a social status for them? And so this is, from a humanity standpoint, this is playing out exactly why that episode exists, is that there is no good that comes out from lying or manipulating those numbers. I mean, I always, again, as an optimist, felt that if you organically tried to do or say good things, then that you would build a community of people that would sort of... I always believed that a community wasn't just about followers, it was something that you belonged to together that made belonging matter, right? So whether you said or followed, it was stronger because of the shared interests and behaviors. Parents have no fundamental understanding of what this is doing to their kids because they didn't grow up that way.
Yeah.
But no matter what the hot app is, whether it's Snapchat or whatever is next, this is playing out in horrible ways in society.
No, but I think I have a kind of a, you know, I allegedly know what I'm talking about when it comes to things like this, you know. And I've tried Snapchat, right? You know, when Twitter started.
You tried, but you stopped?
No, I'm carrying on. I'm slowly getting the experience. And all
I'm going to
stuff.
snap this while you're talking
You know,
about
absolutely.
Snapchat.
So when Twitter came along, it was text-based, without pictures. It was perfect for me and all that, and I went for it. I didn't buy any followers or anything like that, but I tried to get followers. You know what I mean? And then with Instagram, I thought, well, it's more of a pictorial thing than it is. Jesus Christ.
You guys.
You know what I mean? And then I slowly inched my way up the numbers of Instagram and all that stuff. And then was with my wife and 13-year-old son, and my wife said, Jack's a bit sad. And I said, what do you mean he's sad? You know, has he lost his tooth or something, you know? She said, well, you don't like his Instagrams very often. You know, it's like my kid, you know, that gets as much as I can give with love and all like that. He's kind of not talking to me directly. He's talking to my wife and his mother about Dad's not liking me enough. You know, and it's like, well, you know, basically I base it on goodness, whether it's a good picture. If it's a picture of you going like that with a new pair of...
At least he's inviting you to his
No,
page.
and that's not happened with Snapchat, right? We are now diversified and all that stuff.
Okay, guys, let's try to move on from social networking. But I guess the lesson for all of us is how fast those things change. And it's incredible, like how Snapchat became a huge threat to Facebook that basically killed Twitter. Not yet, but last thing I'll say about this is I was at the Lobby conference. It's a very small gathering of 250 Silicon Valley entrepreneurs last week. And it's off the record, so I can't say anything, but I'll say one thing. There were like 5 or 6 people who introduced themselves as, I used to work for Twitter. And that is like, when you start to feel that, it's like, you know.
Well, you start to judge them.
There was no one from Twitter.
It's worth saying one thing, which is if Facebook had not acquired Instagram, and I think you could say the same for their acquisition of WhatsApp, we may be talking about Facebook being dead as well. I have 3 boys, 10, 13, and 15. They live on Instagram and Snapchat, nothing else.
Instagram belongs to Facebook, so.
They don't even join Facebook.
But imagine if Mark was not the leader and he didn't spend $1 billion buying Instagram and he didn't spend $19 billion buying WhatsApp, what would Facebook be?
Yep. So let's switch topics to other trends. So there is a lot of chatter in Silicon Valley as well about chatbots. And not only in Silicon Valley. Who is coding a chatbot here? No one? One. Okay. If you ask the same to developers in San Francisco, everybody's like, I'm coding a chatbot.
And the second question is, who's working on AI?
Well, that's what I had. AI, and then we need, who works on AI?
By the way, we call it AI. It's artificial intelligence.
How about VR? Anyone working on VR? There you go.
We'll talk about VR in a few. Timoni is on her way.
She's on her way, so let's keep VR.
And if you're working on chatbots, AI, and VR,
Oh, then you raise a lot of
We'll
money.
write a check back here.
All
Only
right,
kidding.
so let's talk
Chatbot.
about chatbots.
They're useless.
Who wants to start, Paul?
They're useless for the moment. Have you tried them?
They're
guys?
dumb.
They're dumb. I did all the news like in Messenger, like everything. It's on Slack.
It's amazing
just-
our capacity as an industry to create like monsters, like chatbots. It's been around for like 15 years, forever, right? You could chat. It was text, you know. Nothing new there. But
So-
suddenly it's becoming smart. And you try Amazon Echo, and it's very impressive, by the way.
Okay, but Echo is-
but it's not smart.
Yeah, but Echo, I would say at least it's different because you have to talk to it. But most of the set are.
Does everybody know what Echo is, though?
Amazon Echo. You guys know what Amazon Echo is? It's that device you talk to. You talk to Alexa, and you can order, I don't know, eggs or whatever, whenever you want.
And there's a good trick. If this is live streamed, anyone that has one in the house, Alexa, buy a new car. There's going to be a lot of new cars being bought.
Okay, so chatbots. So
No, but I mean, you lose. I mean, most of them are text-based,
Yeah.
right?
no, but I would put the voice like Siri, Google. What is it? Google.
Assistant.
Cortana.
No, it's got a name.
The new one is Google Assistant.
It's got a name.
Oh, really?
You should Google it.
Cortana is a Microsoft one.
Google Help. Google something.
Twitter.
Anyway, in the Pixel phone, it's in there. There's an app too. I
Yeah.
have it. It's got a name.
I don't know what the name
and
is.
then there is Siri. Right? Those are chatbots. but just-
Siri is the dumbest of all.
The UI is just audio. Allo. It's Google
Oh, yeah.
Allo.
Allo, oh, yeah.
like Allo, moshi moshi in French.
Yeah,
Allo.
it's stupid. I've tried Allo. It's just. Do you use it?
But you know, Echo has hundreds of people working for them. It's a big thing at Amazon, and it's pretty impressive.
But out of all of them, Echo is the most impressive currently to me because actually, you know, I can order stuff right with my voice, and actually it works because of the ecosystem that's behind it, right? Which is Amazon. The other stuff, I mean, for the moment, I'd rather use an app that like use a chatbot to order an Uber, right? I don't see the benefit. I'm not gaining time. I'm not.
Well, so let's distinguish between voice input and
Yeah,
chatbots.
agreed.
So a lot of
It's the same.
chatbots
We
are
input-
text input.
But who cares about the UI?
Yeah.
What's behind it, right? If it's voice or text, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a bot.
So
Is there any smart bot that we like?
I have a company in this space. It's called Chat Center, chat.center. And we have a customer, we've just got a term sheet from a customer who wants us to build a chatbot for them.
No, because everybody wants. It's like you had a website, now you need a chatbot.
So let me tell you, this customer is true. They spend $100 million a year on marketing to teenagers, a specific product, it's a medical product. And this particular medical condition has lots of variables. So what we have to do to build this chatbot is basically build a rules engine for this condition that understands when the teenager says, I have this problem, it can explain to them what the next step is and lead them through to a purchase. It's basically what, 30 years ago, we used to call a batch file. There's no intelligence in it whatsoever. It's all hard-coded. It's a logic tree with known content at each level of the tree. And when the kid says, how much is it, it has the answer to give. There's no AI, no intelligence. So it's a conversational front end to a database, basically, and a database with logic. That is to say, steps in a process. So chatbots today are really rules engines. They're not. There's nothing intelligent. And if you ask it something that it hasn't been told to know, it doesn't know. So if the kid said, "What's on TV tonight?" the chatbot would say, "Let's get back to the conversation about your medical condition," because it doesn't know anything about what's on TV tonight.
Yeah, it's like connected to the AI conversation. There is no AI yet. I've not met an AI yet. Monty, what do you think? You're very discreet.
I don't like
You talk to AI all day long?
No, I get scared. I don't know. Sometimes there are some technologies that you just embrace. I mean, I'm not an early adopter by any means. I'm a lunchtime adopter, I suppose, And chatbots, I know about them. I know what they're supposed to be. And the things like, I'm not an Apple guy either. So Siri, this anonymous voice. I think if you changed it around, and you could program Siri's voice to be anyone you wanted it to be. So Steve Jobs would be an example. So when you asked Siri in the voice of Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs came back to you, I think you've got a winning. I think you've got an amazing business.
So,
with that.
Monty, if I can interrupt you.
Yes.
Because you're saying replacing the voice.
Yeah, but with someone else's voice, someone's personalized.
So I have better than that. We ran an event on bots in Silicon Valley 2 months ago. And one of the speakers, Genia from Replica.ai with a K, is building a bot that builds your replica.
Right.
So it's not your voice, it's you.
Right. Okay.
So what it does is it will read all your texts and emails. So you connect, your phone, and it sucks the whole thing. And then it actually doesn't do that. The first thing it does is it texts you. So replica with a K.ai. If you want to try, I have mine. Loic. Anyway. And so you text, and it learns how you speak. It learns to be you. So that when you die, you're still alive.
Oh, that's the purpose.
Yes, so it's better than the voice. It's actually
No, but
a replica of you.
I'd rather have the replica like now when I don't like, so I don't have to do
No,
shit.
but you
like,
wanna
it
go
just
back
talks
to-
works
back
for me, right?
You go back to the second series of Black Mirror, and that's exactly what happens. Someone dies, and then they're brought back to life.
Exactly.
Based on all of that content.
It's a bot. You're in a bot.
Yeah, and that's coming true clearly, But on the wider aspects of it, I still want a human man, I'm still a dinosaur.
Yeah, but yes and no. Because how often are you like stuck in customer service lines and forever pressing 1, press dash, press 2, press dash, press 3? I'd rather have, and I understand also companies that they cannot like solve problems for, think about airlines, right? United sucks. You guys, you know about that, right? They have the worst customer service ever. If only there was some smartness in the bot that could triage at the beginning what's coming to them and only limit the actual human interaction to problems that need to be more smart. I like that. I mean, honestly, I'd rather have...
But I don't tend to have relationships with my suppliers in my life that I have to go through that process.
But you won't see it. The voice is so great. It's fine. I don't care if it's a robot, and I'm not talking about losing jobs. I think I'm really talking about having a better, I've lived in the Philippines. You have to see it to believe it. What are these? Where all your calls are ending.
Actually,
it's not live.
There's a good company that Samsung just acquired. It's called Vive, and the Vive founders are the same guys who founded Siri. Before Apple acquired it. And they tried to improve on Siri. And what they did is, close to what you just said, they made it possible to have you could say to Vive, I'm going to Beirut next Wednesday. I want to fly 2 days before. I need a business class ticket without stops. And when I get there, I want a car to my hotel and food in my room. And Vive could break that down into each of the things that needed to happen, go off and do them all, and then come back and give you the finished thing. And now it's still dumb. Vive had to be programmed to know those 8 things, but it was able to combine them into a single set of steps that you didn't need to ask for each of the
But you'd
steps.
still find the Toblerone in the fridge, whatever happens.
Right.
I
Or a
think
Mars bar.
one of the things that I struggle with AI and chatbots is sort of the vision for how these things would be implemented, right? I think we get caught up in the capacity to be able to do these things, whether it's the chat or voice front end in a logical database, or whether it's learning on how to replicate you. It's sort of, how is that going to be implemented in a way that's going to be better than what I already have access to? And I think a lot of this, so I work with a lot of companies that are either building or acquiring chatbots because they're trying to augment their call center experience, which sucks. So the fact that you're investing in new technology to make that suck too is, I think that's the limitation of how we see these new technologies. I think if I had
we have to talk, because I want to sell Chat Center to one of these call center companies, because it's all about the...
But the one thing
I
that
won't let you. No more.
the one thing that is really happening, I think, is that we all spend more and more time on messaging apps. Mm-hmm. The number one being, so here is very WhatsApp, if I understand well. But
everybody's on WhatsApp. I'm running this entire conference on WhatsApp.
What's your number one app you spend the most time on?
WhatsApp, raise your hands. Look.
Number one app, huh? The one when you go to bed tonight, how much time have you spent on? How about Messenger?
Facebook Messenger.
Wow, it looks like
See?
Facebook has a lot of work here.
If WhatsApp outside of Western Europe and the US, WhatsApp is just everywhere. It's crazy.
Well, that belongs to Facebook too.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But-
Yeah, that's
but
why
I
they
think
pay
that-
that much, I guess.
You're actually on Messenger, you just don't know yet.
But I think those chat networks are interesting. There's one chat company called Palringo. So
Oh, yeah.
Palringo became the default setting during the Arab Spring, wherever it was. It was lucky in the way that it got that publicity. And user base grew to 40, 45 million. Then it bifurcated and it bought a couple of games companies. Now I remember doing SMS messages for £1.50 per SMS to play a game of football with Keith. 1-0, £1.50, 1-1, £3. So look, you know, you can go back to the snake analogy and all of that stuff. But they've been smart, they've bought a couple of games. And the ability to play a game, like a fishing game, very nice and beautifully done, is one of the examples of how that is going to split up, you know. I mean, WhatsApp, I downloaded WhatsApp 3 weeks ago for the first time ever.
Yeah, because we asked you to, because
You
Monty,
asked
you're
me
going to
to
come
do
to
it.
Lebanon, you
No,
have
you
no
did.
choice but to download WhatsApp.
And I am disrupted. I mean, obviously this conference is fine, but it's so disruptive to me. It reminds me of MSN in the day when go away. But I think the whole chat network scenario will change.
But the big trend is that people download less and less apps. They don't want to download apps.
absolutely.
And so the messaging apps want you to spend more time in them and message the shops, the hotels, like everything is gonna, and that's already happening in China. So they're just building the new website is a messenger app, basically.
Yeah.
Or
But
WhatsApp app.
but you know, it's what's happening is it's the reimagination of the late 1990s when you chose Yahoo or Excite or InfoSeek as your portal.
Oh my goodness.
And now you choose your chat app. And they each try to get everyone inside the one app. And it's like a captive audience, if you like. But they can't talk to each other between the apps.
Well-
There's no... so if you think about how fantastic phone numbers and email addresses are in that context, they just work. If I know your phone number, your phone will ring. If I know your email address, you'll receive a message. But if I need to know what app you're using to get it.
And it's just like SMS before, it was interoperable. If you're on Vodafone, you couldn't send a text to someone that was on Orange. And as soon as that finally happened, off it went.
So we're all dinosaurs. I'm sorry. The reason I was using WhatsApp all this time is because we're missing speakers. She finally arrived.